to me, if that mentality should function under any organization. So for instance, let's just hypothetically say all of a sudden this director of Gardner Energy reports to the city administrator.
Right.
Okay, so the direction from the city administrator is, okay, Bill, or whoever's in that position, we want you to be proactive, go out there, partner with Mike and figure out how I mean, to me, it's all about, we get hung up on the organizational structure of it, and we think that that's lent this ability to react or be proactive, but why can't you do that? If that's the direction, why wouldn't you do that under any organization structure?
Well, I think there's some fairness to that, absolutely. I guess my point to it was because it's unique, that I think it just is best operated under its own umbrella because it has some unique goals that may not align up with other things that may try to operate under the BPU. So for other people on the BPU that might have an expertise in water and wastewater and how to best manage that may not lend themselves to the business of electric providing. So I just think there's a uniqueness that makes it operate more efficiently under, so it's been under its own umbrella. Now that's on its island, but I think obviously we've identified how that needs to be cured from communication and other standpoints. But I just feel that the way it's, I hate to keep doing it because it's a catchphrase at this point, operate like a business. But it's done so effectively, I think, because it's not had to be entangled with other elements of operation within the city.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference, Christy. The difference between water, wastewater, public works, police, parks and rec, and all the other departments we have in our city is that Gardner Energy competes with an outside investor-owned utility. They are the only entity in this city that has competition. We don't have competition with any of the other departments in the city with outside entities.
Okay, let me.
This is the only one that does.
I would suggest that we've got Gardner and a border and Edgerton on the other side of the border, and Edgerton doesn't get water from Gardner. They get it from Rural Water 7.
You're correct.
And when it comes to matters of economic development, when people are trying to choose whether they go to Gardner, Edgerton with Rural Water 7, Spring Hill, which is Water 1, I believe, and Olathe, I mean, now you have this, we are competing on a playing field with people from other municipalities whose utilities are different than our own. So I think that the thing that, if we were to explore the idea of using this as an advisory board or advisory commission instead of a separate board, to Heath's point about we've got something different and unique here. I've looked at most of the cities in Johnson County's city web pages. Nobody's got a study group for their water, sewer, and electric. We would be unique. And what's that?
Well, we own our utility. We're unique that way. I don't think there's any city in the area, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's any city in the area that owns their own electric utility.
Not in Johnson County.
In Johnson County.
Well, in Johnson County, you can go to...
Here's the one recommendation I'd like to see enacted, and that is, let's just deal with the issue at hand, which is the electric utility only. I mean, let's not introduce two more variables with water and wastewater before we solve the one problem that we have. And I'm assuming we think it is a problem because you called the meeting, so for this topic. So let's fix this. And then we can always decide later if you want to expand the scope of the utility board. But
I'll agree with that.
There's no reason to go off into another tangent with two more utilities when we obviously see problems with the structure that we have now with this one utility. And it sounds like the structure, just by the course of this one meeting, has been, neutered, as you said. in its powers. So really, it is an advisory board by the end of the day, it's already an advisory board. And I know that's not
Then-
what you want to hear.
Then why wouldn't we have an advisory board for water and
Why do
wastewater?
we
Which is-
need one for them? We need an advisory board for this utility because we already have them set up in one capacity, and we've already, by virtue of all the discussion, all the input from the directors and the city administrator, have found that we're not doing things correctly when it comes to budgeting, economic development, HR. We're taking those powers back. So, in answer to your question, we're trying to find a place for the existing structure that we have without all those powers. Why would we want to go off on another tangent and increase the scope of another board that we may have to fix later, or one that has greater powers than what we're trying to fix here tonight?
I guess from my perspective, I think that, a utilities advisory board, if we deal with these issues in this ordinance, and we structure a board, an advisory board, in such that it meets the criteria that we just talked about, I would say, why wouldn't we include, because we've talked since I've been here, about the kind of neglect of focus on water and wastewater. We've talked about the rate increases and things that need to be done, and the fact that there's no maintenance being done. So why wouldn't we take an opportunity to try and expand it to other utilities?
Because those problems all occurred as a result of a dysfunctional previous administration, both at the administrator level and at the governing body level. Those decisions, I mean, the history is clear as far as water and wastewater, that a consultant came in 2002 and said, you guys need to increase your rates. The governing body made the decision at that time against their own best advice from the person they hired to come in and give them advice, to just put it off a few more years. We're not like that. I mean, I feel like we're already operating at a much higher level than they ever were. I mean, and we have a city administrator that I believe all of us trust. And I can't say that was the case with the previous situation we had.
Actually, you can't speak about how much previous councils
Okay.
trusted the previous city administrator.
I guess maybe I should say we didn't have the input that we have in this city administrator. You find that that's a fair assessment? I mean, you were
I
in
think-
council then.
Actually, when I was on council, we didn't have, previous administrations, we didn't have Stuart Fairburn as the city administrator. We had an interim, and then we had another interim, and now we have Cheryl.
Yep.
Okay, well, so.
And you know, if, back in 2012, when it was brought to council that we should study doing a BPU so that we could study what we're doing with our utilities, and so we can do the right thing with them. I mean, that passed on a 4-1 vote.
We know
I
it.
mean, now, if we can't do it like a board, because we've recognized that there's flaws, not just in the ordinance, but in statute for how we can make it work in its current configuration, we should at least be thinking about studying water and wastewater, which runs like a business. There is a meter, and you charge people monthly, and there is generation, and there is transmission, and there is generation of clean water after the sewage gets sent to the wastewater treatment plant.
What kind of business has no competition? Do you see any, can I buy my water from someplace
It's
else?
not about competition.
What?
There's other people that are gonna decide
I can
where
buy
they
my-
wanna be.
I can't buy my water or my sewage from anybody else.
I
That's
don't-
where you're wrong
actually,
about the business.
Larry, I don't think you were listening to me when I was making a point towards Steve earlier, in that people have a choice in where they wanna go as far as moving their house or moving their business, and that,